Well, bowling fans are back at Lakeshore Lanes in Sheboygan. The girls' finals of the Visit Sheboygan.com Open. Enjoy 3 very familiar faces on the show, and 1 real familiar one is the top seed.
Right, but no clear-cut favorite, Phil. All 3 girls, shot makers, good balance, good fundamentals to their game, strong mental games. It's a coin flip. Anybody can win this.
And then the last match of the show today, the challenge match. We bring it back once a year. We know Joe Scumaci is coming back from the boys' show. Who's going to come back from the girls' show? We'll find out shortly. Join Joy and I back from Lakeshore Lanes for the start of our match in just a couple of minutes. Lakeshore Lanes again in the place for the Visit Sheboygan.com Open. And Joey, starting off our girls semifinal match, Caerlina Williams.
And Caerlina out of Elk Grove Village, Illinois. Opening shot.
Nice 5 steps, but a little left.
Little left at hell line, Phil. This pattern's playing longer than the proposed 39 feet. Why don't you give us all background into the pattern?
Well, I think a little bit to do with it is these young ladies are bowling right after we got done taping the boys' finals here. So the boys kind of open lanes up a little bit to the right, and these young ladies with their ball speed really don't want to see early hook. So we're going to see them migrate more to the middle and try to play a real tight line to the pocket with non-aggressive equipment just to make sure they can stay on the right side of the head pin. And you can see Amanda there right over third arrow out in the lanes. And
right.
Perfect shot.
Definitely a tighter line to the pocket and using an aggressive ball, though, Phil. That was a virtual gravity nano pearl, which, as we should know, is a low RG, aggressive cover, and as you see, it just kind of sucked the pins right off the deck. But she's got good speed for a girl.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, she's in the 16, 17 mile an hour range, and you know, she's won enough tournaments here. I mean, she's 15 years old, and we have to give her her own section of the page here just for her tournament wins. And she really likes Lakeshore Lanes. She was the 2011 winner of the Sean Yonan Girls Division. We saw her last year on the show go through Morgan O'Brien, who's the top seed for this event today.
All right, and that was actually a very good shot by Amanda. Came a little light, leaving a 2-8, double wood. No easy spare on any pattern.
No, and especially now because if that ball gets a little to the right, it might hook a little hard and get to the left side of the 2-pin. You really have to get both pins with the ball on this spare.
So typically an adjustment for this spare, Phil, most bowlers move their feet maybe 3 boards to the right and then throw your typical strike shot release and let the ball kind of walk its way right into the 2, as she did.
I think you drew that shot up for her on Telestrator there, Joey, the way it looked.
Maybe be something we want to save up for.
Good idea.
Some more graphics.
We'll get you doing your best John Madden Bam impersonation out there. So, Caerlina Williams, her 3rd show of the season. She won the doubles tournament back at Castle Lanes with Ted Ratato, and she finished in 2nd place in the 900 Global Train Open to Sarah Minch. So looking for her first title of the season, and a great shot. And is that 7 going to fall? Nope.
Yeah, and you know, the pin gods giveth and the pin gods taketh. She got a fortunate break opening frame and a bad break in frame 2. As you can see, blows the 5 right in front of the 7-pin. Doesn't come out of the gutter.
So with the spare here, we'll be all even after 2 frames. You can see she switches to that pretty neat looking Storm spare ball.
Well, yeah, and you see she keeps her shoulders a little more closed toward her target line as not to bank the ball to the right too much. Perfect spare conversion.
And with that spare, we're all tied after 2 frames here. Caerlina, a very fluid style, you must say, with the 5 steps.
Well, both girls, Phil. A fluid style, no muscling or forcing on the release. Very loose swings, which we like to see, yet solid at the line. just a touch high on that lane. And you know, when a bowler tries to play a direct line to the pocket and it's not your natural game, sometimes you need to work on that to make each shot as good a shot as you want to make it.
Yeah, to not force on the bottom of the swing. I mean, you can see Caerlina, when she came out of that shot, the hand was nice, loose, relaxed, as we like to see. You know, the fingers not bent up, it wasn't grabbing the ball in the bottom, and it could have been just simply a little bit of a quick rush through on the follow through, and just started the ball directing it to the left, but a great cover.
Yeah, and
awesome.
A spare ball once again on her spare. And both girls, I would think, are going to use spare balls today because they're going across oil and dry parts on the lane, and you never know what your strike ball is going to do, but you do know your spare ball is going to go straight.
Absolutely, and both girls styling those high 5 gear jerseys, and tell you what, high 5 gear really expanding their lines. They've got the bowling jerseys now. Now they have golf shirts, and they've got some pretty nice looking golf shirts. If you go to high5gear.com, you can see all the nice selections you have between bowling and golf shirts.
Another great shot from Amanda on the right lane, and we'll see if the left lane is the bugaboo lane between the two. So far, neither girl has struck on the left lane.
Yeah, we saw the bowlers in the boys show having a little problems at lane 3 too, with a little inconsistency. It seemed that they'd make a little bit of a move to the right and they'd get a big jump on the ball. So,
right, and it's not always the oil pattern; it's lane topography.
yeah, sometimes all it takes is a little bump on the lane in a certain spot, or a little ridge, or a little depression, and the ball acts totally different.
And that prime example there, Phil, because she threw that very well. Good follow through. She didn't tug it. And the ball read up a little early, and she pays the maximum penalty with a split.
Yeah. So we've seen both young ladies on their last shot on lane 3 go high, and it might be time to make that move left. We saw Riley Smith do that in the boys' finals a couple of times. Had to make a pretty big move to get back in the pocket. So even though there's oil on the lane, it can go away real quickly with these aggressively covered bowling balls. Nice run at that spare, though, but only gets one.
Right, and you know, if we look back a little bit in frame 2, Amanda came a little light on that lane. So that lane, definitely the trickier of the two, but my guess is they will find a way to figure it out, Phil.
So Caerlina here, 12-pin lead, looking to maintain that if she can throw a strike on the shot.
5-step approach, shoulder high backswing. That was a pretty good shot there, Phil. Nice and tight to the pocket, just didn't trip the 4.
Just a little bit high, and you can just see when that ball comes off her hand. I mean, that ball's revving in the pocket. You can see on the slow-mo camera, there's still plenty of hand in that ball, even though it's getting down lane with a relatively relaxed release.
Right. I mean, you don't need to throw the big curve to have good rotation on your ball, good revolutions. And Caerlina, prime example, she has a high game of 300. Can't throw any better than that. High series of 737, which I'm sure will be eclipsed soon.
And I'm sure Dale Lehman down at Robert Morris likes to hear those numbers and likes to see her on TV because she recently signed a letter of intent to go to Robert Morris in Chicago next year. So that's always been a real strong collegiate program down there for the last 2 or 3 seasons, and we both know some bowlers that attend that program down there.
I just recently drilled the ball for Chris Pearson, Eric Pearson's son. There's her second shot on the left lane, and she definitely got the job done.
And with that strike, we're going to get into our first commercial break of the game. Join us back from Lakeshore Lanes in Sheboygan in just a couple of minutes. Back from Lakeshore Lanes in Sheboygan, the VisitSheboygan.com Open Girls Semifinals, and Joey, Amanda Garavet looking at a little bit of a hole in the 5th frame here, down by 11 pins.
Yes, and no girl really taking control of the match, but again, we have a mismatched pair, and it's just a matter of time before one of them finds a way to get a double or a turkey. And that was a great shot off her hand. In fact, all 3 shots on this right lane have been executed very well. Her first non-strike. Yeah,
and now it's just keeping the mental game, keeping the focus, and making sure you bounce back from a bad break, because a little bit of deflection on the ball, just enough to send the 6 around the 10, and that spare has to get made to stay within a mark.
Going cross lane with her polyester ball. A little left off the hand, and just misses it.
Tough break, and it's all in the mental game. You can't let yourself get too down in the dumps over a bad break. Now, instead of staying within a mark, she's down 2, and now striking shoes will have to be found in order to get back in this match.
Right, but we know Amanda, and we know she's not the type to give up early. So she's a competitor, a fierce competitor, we'll call her.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of Grand Prix tournaments. As we said, she's the champion here last year at the Sean Yonan Memorial All-Star Tournament, first place team last year for high school. So there's a lot of tournament titles on this young lady's belt, and yeah, she'll bounce back from this shot and hopefully not chop the 6 off the 10 on this. We saw a lot of chops on the boys' show.
So that's back-to-back shots that have read up early on this left lane. And again, her opening shot was a little light. So I think she's going to have to just trust her stroke fill and move back inside. Kind of a lucky conversion, would you call that? I mean, any spare you make is good, but...
That's a unique way to do it. Have the 6 bounce back off the wall and take the 10 out.
I mean, I'll take that any day of the week.
It gets the frame filled, and now maintaining an over 20-pin lead with Caerlina Williams up here in lane 4. And I am just impressed with just her fluidity, Joey. I mean, just pops it on the follow-through. You see that hand nice and loose on the bottom, and 10 straight back.
And that's a big double. And, you know, her ball choice is interesting. She's using a Rotogrip Shooting Star, which is one of their, let's say, entry-level to mid-price products. Most pro shops will retail it on, say, $140, $150 ball. One of her weakest balls in her line, but one of her better balls, in that weak does not mean weak hitting power. It just means she can play a little closer to the friction, not give up the pocket, and get 10 in the pit.
Yeah, and exactly, as you said, just because the ball doesn't cost as much or doesn't hook as much, she's learned that maximizing hitting power is what that ball is doing in the last 5 feet before the pins. And you see these kids learning about carry adjustments for carry all the time, and we didn't know this stuff when we were kids, and these kids are getting so much smarter about equipment use, equipment changes. It's just fun to watch these tournaments. If you haven't come out to watch a youth challenge event or another event in your area where you can watch these fine young 200 plus average bowlers, get out there and watch.
That was Amanda's first bad shot on the right lane, and I don't know if she's giving up, but it almost seems like she's a little frustrated, probably because she's made good shots on this lane, hasn't struck every time, and
then you make a move and it goes high on you. And we saw with the boys show, the boys tried making moves on some of these shots, and it just started hooking farther through the nose. And Brad Sisleitz won the boys title with 2 crossover strikes after he made a subtle move on the approach. So, and it just goes to show nowadays the power of these bowling balls removing oil from the lane surface.
Right, and that's it. You know, her best bet here to find something before the game is over is either shell down, go to a weaker ball so she can play where she's playing, or she's going to have to venture further left with her feet.
Much better shot, and of course
she did just that. So, but that ball kind of ran out of gas, and you wouldn't think a $220 ball can run out of hitting power or energy, but the more expensive balls with the big covers and the big cores can do just that.
Exactly. And like we just mentioned, these kids know their equipment more, and as you said, it could just be the wrong piece in Amanda's hand at this point in time. She makes this 10-pin, and she wanted to thank her coach, Steve Sisleitz, Brad's dad from the last show, for all the support in getting her to this point in her bowling with equipment and coaching, and her mom Bianca and her dad Jim always around supporting her game. So great family support.
Caerlina with a commanding lead at this point, Phil. Kind of a surprise.
And probably, let's see if she does a little searching here. That looked like it got a little farther to the right, and you could just see never even turned over.
No, but not a horrible shot. I mean, she really didn't give up the pocket, and she is playing a tighter line. And possibly just didn't get the finger rotation or roll she was looking for.
Yeah. And we mentioned the 2-8 was tough earlier for Amanda. I wouldn't want to be out here shooting a bucket in this situation, even with the 40-pin lead. It's going to need some help.
Yeah, slight cross lane, and you could see it take off on the back end. But when you have that back sleeper pin, Phil, the 8-pin, do you think using a spare bowl may have been a better option?
Could have possibly been going right up the boards with it. We've seen bowlers do it in the past. You know, you can use a little deflection off the 4 or 5 pin to get the ball back on line to the 8. But yeah, every bowler's a little bit different on how they want to make sure they get that back pin out, because that's the key one on the spare. Flips it off her hand nicely, and just that little bit of a weak 10.
Soft 10, but should be an easier spare for her to attempt than previous frame. And we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, the 9th, 10th frame. A lot of games can be won and lost in those last 2 frames.
Yeah. Well, this spare here is pretty huge, because it's going to force Amanda to go all the way off the sheet in order to have any chance of winning or putting pressure on Caerlina. Let's see, she has a spare no problem here.
Yeah,
so
that almost mathematically locks it up for her.
Yeah, I mean, Amanda's maximum right now, if she strikes out, is 191. Well, if Caerlina goes 9 miss, that would be 189. So right now, Amanda basically has to put any pressure on Caerlina in the 10th frame, has to go off the sheet in the 9th and 10th frames. Nice shot out of her hand, and a little more back end on that ball than when the week 10.
She's back on the strike train, but again, all of her strikes have been on this lane.
So now, yeah, trying to find something after not striking at all is going to be tough.
She hasn't hit it yet, so now is the time to make a bold move. Maybe move her feet 2 or 3 boards left. Trust her stroke, because she does have a good stroke on the ball, and hope it's the right alignment to the pocket. And
wow.
You can't throw it better, Phil. So, kudos to Amanda. That was a great shot. And just sometimes the pins don't cooperate.
Yeah, I mean, just watch this ball right face up in the pocket. That little bit of deflection sends a 6 around the 10. And that's going to leave Amanda with a 3rd place scholarship award today. I believe it's $110. So not bad for another day to work here up in Sheboygan. Covers it nicely, and I pretty much can guarantee it's not going to be Amanda's last time on the TV shows this year. She's made 3 shows as well this season, so plenty of time to go. We've got 3 more Youth Challenge events this season to go on TV, thanks to our friends here at Time Warner Cable Sports 32, and something tells me we'll see her on at least one of them. And of course, the Phil ball always falls.
Why does that happen? Are you just that much looser, or is it just your attitude is, I don't care now, I'm just going to throw it and you strike?
I think it's just the karma gods laughing in your face once in a while. At least on my end, it seems to be. So they just want to make sure you keep your head on your shoulders.
Well, we knew Amanda would figure that left lane out eventually.
Yeah, exactly. That's something to build off of for the next tournament. So Caerlina Williams is going to be facing Morgan O'Brien in the final match. Caerlina looking for her first solo youth challenge title. Morgan's got 6 under her belt, so who's the favorite going into that match?
She does have an advantage in that she has bowled a game on this pair, so she has a feel for how the left lane differs from the right lane, and she does have a rather good look on both lanes, Phil. So I would say it's probably a toss-up, because Morgan we know is Morgan.
Yeah, I mean, we saw her grind it out on the Sean Yonan finals, getting 1st place in that $1,000 scholarship. Not quite as much today with the VisitSheboygan.com Open. We still have a $250 scholarship for the young ladies on top today. So.
And that's a sign of a true champion, is when you can find a way to win a tournament when you really don't have a great look on the lane, yet you still get the job done.
Yeah, and Caerlina, you wouldn't expect a 39-foot pattern, somebody playing it that tight, but she's doing it well and putting up a lot of pins out here with a 211 final score against Amanda Garavet's 171. Joy and I will be back from Lakeshore Lanes to Sheboygan with our girls' final in just a couple of minutes, so make sure you stay tuned. High Five Gear. Custom bowling and sports apparel as unique as you are. The only limitation is your imagination. HighFiveGear.com. The girls' final for the VisitSheboygan.com Open, the 2012 edition. Caerlina Williams leading off the girls' final on lane 3 here. And Joy, I was kind of impressed by that closing flurry for the 211 for Caerlina, and I don't know if she's still going to be the favorite against Morgan's experience in this match.
Well, Morgan has a long list of wins and credentials to back up her bowling, but again, Caerlina here, a good look on both lanes, and we know how important it is to own both lanes.
So a great start for Caerlina there, and now Morgan O'Brien up on lane 4. Morgan coming off that big win, same center the day before we taped this year, in the Sean Yonan Memorial with a big $1,000 scholarship, and she's looking to add to that total today, but dead left out of her hand.
Yeah, again, opening shot. Sometimes you just kind of give it a little help getting to the pocket. You don't want to miss the head pin on your opening shot, but Morgan will find a way to get things done.
And you can, looking back to the difference of a similar length pattern that we had for the Sean Yonan Memorial Tournament, 39 feet, but because of where the oil was laid out, Morgan was out around 5th or 6th board most of the time. Now we're seeing her over 8th, 9th, 10th board already, So you can see that even though the length of the pattern and it can be similar, how you play the lanes depending on where that oil is laid out can be entirely different.
So you think Morgan's line to the pocket or her angle of attack is going to work for her? I mean, she's basically right of where the boys' track was.
I think it could work for her just because as relatively straight as she plays the front of the lane, she's going to hit where the boys open it up a little farther down lane, and it should sit up in the pocket just like it did right there, and a nice little advantage that she's going to have herself there.
And again, that's the tougher of the two lanes, at least history tells us that. So.
And just watch that ball roll in nicely. You watch that 6-pin drive through the 10, take it right out. And now Caerlina's up in her in her second frame, looking for a double.
Stays with the tight line to the pocket, gets the job done rather nicely.
And that's, you mentioned the difference in lines that these young ladies are playing. Caerlina's not, neither one's going to affect the other line, but if Morgan starts hitting where as you mentioned, where the boys open up the lane a little bit more, would that cause problems for her? I don't know.
Well, if she burns up the lane where she's playing, down boards 8, 9, and has to move in 2 or 3 boards, then she's into where the boys' track area was, and her ball may hook instantly.
Once again, tries getting the Grabowski and just quite get it to carry and leaves the 7-pin. Our buddy Steve Grabowski would have carried that at Beloit Lanes.
Well, Steve carries everything, no matter where he bowls.
So Caerlina is going to switch over to that polyester Storm spare ball. Gotta like the design on that. It's got the logo, it's got the gold flakes on it. It's kind of a little showy ball. We talked about that in our last show. All these, you can kind of get your own personal character in your spare ball nowadays.
Well, if you're a good spare shooter, I can see getting a attention-grabbing spare ball. If you're not a good spare shooter, you may not want to draw attention to your spare game.
Might want to get your old LT48 out of the closet, just basic jet black, and go from there.
Okay, Morgan's opening shot in this right lane crept a little high, and we know she struck in frame 2. Throws it right down board 8.
Ooh.
Perfect shot, not a perfect result, but... And we see Morgan's, she's at above average speed, the long loose swing, solid at the line, no twisting or turning with her hand motion. And, it's a simple game this way, Phil, when you don't try and curve it.
Yeah, kind of like conserving your own energy. I mean, these bowlers have bowled a lot of games this weekend. I mean, Morgan bowled 14 games yesterday, including the TV show, to win the Yonan tournament. She had 9 games before she made the TV show here today, so that's 24 games in a weekend. That's like Pro Tour, Pro Regional Tour. That's what these guys do out there to get through and win a tournament.
Right, and 24 games where you need to focus. It's not just throwing the ball. I mean, she needs to make good shots. She has to read the transition as the lanes break down and still be up for it when she makes, say, the finals.
So looking to bounce back off that 10-pin on this shot. Looks pretty well in line, Joey. And a little weaker 10 that time.
Yeah, so, she may have to rethink strategy because normally when you throw it good, get it off your hand clean, good balance, and you don't strike, especially if you don't strike, say, 2 of the last 3 shots, sometimes the ball changes in order or different angle of attack.
So stays with her strike ball for her 10-pin attempt and covers it nicely.
And both girls using conservative balls. We mentioned in the last match, Caerlina using a Shooting Star from Roto Grip, and Morgan, I believe, is using an Ebonite Lane Breaker, which is a mid-price, solid reactive resin ball, very easy to control.
Caerlina styling last year's version of the USBC Junior Gold Championship jersey. High Five Gear has 4 or 5 versions out this year for the Junior Gold Championship. So, if you are a youth bowler that's bowling Junior Gold this year and wants to look at that great style, you can go ahead and check out highfivegear.com. And I think Caerlina would like to check up on that shot and start all over again.
Yeah, and there's times your swing gets a little out of whack, or your approach, you drift a little more than normal. Bad shots happen, Phil. Everybody has them. No matter how good you try and throw it, everything will not work each time.
So moves well to the left on the approach. Use as much lane as you can on those right side spares. Nice and relaxed off the hand. Covers it perfectly.
Right, and if you watch her footwork, no crossover steps, even-paced, shorter steps. And yet when we see Morgan come up to bat here, we'll see she does have a crossover step, which means her right foot steps in front of her left foot, and that helps get that swing, you know, in line, gets her hips out of the way.
Smooth 5 steps off the hand, and a huge break on that crossover. Not exactly the way we wanted to get in a commercial here, but we're going to, so we'll be back from Lakeshore Lanes in just a couple of moments with more striking action. Back from Lakeshore Lanes at Sheboygan, the visitsheboygan.com girls finals. Morgan O'Brien, well, she's guaranteed going to the challenge match against Joe Scumaci because we took the best qualifiers from the 2-day totals from the Sean Yona Memorial and the visitsheboygan.com Open, and Morgan and Joe were our 2 highest qualifiers, so we'll see them in the challenge match.
I can see why Morgan's not going to move, Phil, excuse me, but you know, she's hit the pocket her last 4 frames. A strike, good 10-pin, soft 10-pin strike. She may feel she does have a good line to the pocket. It's all execution. She needs to get the ball off of her hand cleanly. So again, it's hard to make a move when you pretty much own the pocket.
So Morgan, you see her just wiggling that elbow, just a little thing to help her stay mentally relaxed on the approach, and just a hair light that time.
And she threw it pretty good, and she thought it was going to react a little stronger than that off her hand. And she knows she's running out of frames, and she's the type that won't wait for the match to come to her. She wants to take control, catch a little turkey in there, and kind of put pressure on her opponent. But when the pins don't fall, I mean, there's not much you can do.
So she makes a little move to the right on the approach, using her strike target to just hook across and get to that 2-pin. No problem getting the ball over there. Perfect cover. So now you're Caerlina. You're up in frame number 6. You're working on the strike. You got a 9-pin lead, and you've been kind of struggling on lane 4. What do you know, a little light both times? Do you make a little bump back to the right and maybe getting where the boys open it up a little bit now? Or?
You know, I think she realizes, you know, she got away with a couple of shots left of target off her hand. She's going to have to make a little move left on the approach and just trust her stroke just like that, and look what happened.
I think it was just a little quick for speed-wise on that shot, because we saw it in her last match against Amanda Garavet on this lane. You get it a little quick into the oil, and it just hydroplanes past the pocket. And boy, she didn't make this spare last game either. Wonder what she's going to do to try to. It looks like she didn't move as far right as last time.
Right, because last time she attempted this, she hooked away.
And wow,
and it did the same and more. I think you can't miss that front pin.
I think she got real tentative on release there and just gave it a little more hand than she wanted to. And it's easy to get tentative in this kind of situation. You know you need a spare to maintain a lead. You're bowling off for a $250 scholarship, first place prize here today. Yeah, I can see that happening to me out here under the lights. Now it's bounce back time. That's a little left out of her hand, Joy.
Yeah, that was left right off the hand, and when she's in the oil, it's not going to cross over all the time. So, and another tough spare.
So,
but maybe not as tough as the dinner bucket.
No, and with this, we'll probably see her switch to a polyester ball, so it's going to have less friction. And if she hits on the right side of the head pin, wow, I guess I was wrong on that. She's staying with her strike ball. That's an interesting move.
Well, that could be because of the volume of oil in the middle of the lane. There are times it's a better bet than your spare ball, and she proved us right there.
Yeah, she hooked it into the 3-pin, was far enough on the right side of the 3-pin to just have that ball bounce into the 10, so couldn't draw it up any better.
So Morgan takes the lead while on the bench, which is always nice.
But now the hard part is extending it. You're working on a spare, and you're going to have to get a double here to extend it. Right up about 7th board, Joey, and another wrap 10.
You know, and that may not be the overnight lane breaker. That may be her Storm Natural, which is a throwback in time to urethane. It has a stronger core than some of the older balls from yesteryear, but as tame a cover, and you know, it almost looks like it is urethane because of its roll predictability.
Yeah, it's not going to have as much back end, obviously, as any of the resin balls. And it rolls a little bit different, too. It spends a little more energy in the front part of the lane, correct?
Well, urethanes typically can have more traction or friction in oil, but less bounce or traction off dry. Okay. So you sometimes do need them to read that lane sooner, because they're not going to respond as aggressively when the ball does hit its friction point. But again, she's still getting the job done. She's staying clean. She's filling the frames, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, when you have 6 frames in a row where you haven't missed the pocket, it's tough to make any type of change. There it is.
And when you get a good strike like that, again, more reason not to change.
So maintains a 4-pin lead with 2.5 frames to go here, and Caerlina Williams, who's chasing down her first U Challenge Series title, really needs to get a double here in the 8th and 9th frame, really to put a little pressure back on Morgan.
Right, but we saw her in the early match. You know, she does take control at times toward the end of the match.
That long, lanky follow through, and just gets the 7 out.
Yeah, and that tickle on the 7-pin there may turn out to be the deciding factor in this match. It's a 4-pin match with 2 frames to go. The excitement is building.
I'll tell you what, and even though you might not see it on Caerlina's face a lot of the time, she's very unemotional on the lanes. You see a little right there as soon as that 7 falls down. So she keeps herself calm, and she doesn't get herself overexcited over good breaks or bad breaks. And that's one of the parts with her mental game that's really helped her get to the top of her game the last couple of years and kicks the 10.
High, hard one. And that's where that direct line is going to give you a good chance almost every time. Now Morgan, she's been here before. She has answered the bell many a times. But again, her strike percentage not as high as it typically would be. You know she's not going to miss the pocket here, but will she get the right roll to get that 10-pin down?
Right about 8th board, a little inside of last time, but still wraps the 10.
And not a weak 10 this time. That was a hard 10. 6-pin went right around the 10-pin. And she goes, what can I do? I executed, I was balanced, I hit my target.
And it's just one of those things where she's got to make it and strike out in the 10th frame to put any pressure on Caerlina for the title when she steps up in frame number 10.
And Morgan, right on the 10. She's never missed a spare on TV, has she?
I've seen her miss 1 or 2, but not too many. So you don't win 6 U Challenge titles by missing spares.
Now, there are no gimmies when you're on TV. Sean Rash has proved that many a time, making TV shows, 5 or 6 times, and not winning until the last tournament of the year.
Yeah, and it took a couple of clutch spares for him to win that tournament as well. And wow, Joey, that's 5 10-pins for her now this game on 10 shots.
And Morgan, you know, she's not going to get upset. She's going to get happy, if anything. She figures there's nothing I can do, and she kind of laughs it off. And that was a good 10.
Yeah. Once again, you should watch that 6 go all the way around the 10, not laying in the flat gutter at all. But
you know, Morgan has had some times where things have gone her way. She does have a high series of 803, ho hum at age 19. High game of 279, which is a little surprising. I would have thought she might have had a 300 by now.
I would have thought so as well, but
come on, Morgan, hop on that horse.
Count here kind of irrelevant. Anything is really going to force Caerlina to step up and get a mark in the 10th frame in order to win the title. Yeah, 197 with that strike. If Caerlina were to go 9 spare miss on this shot, it'd be 191. So basically any open by Caerlina here would hand Morgan the title.
So again, Morgan never really took control of the match, but still forces her opponent to get a mark in the 10. She doesn't want to leave a dinner bucket.
That looks pretty good.
And she didn't. Almost a 5-7. She carried that would be the Steve Grabowski,
yep,
as the 5 is blown to the right.
Yeah, Dick Weber would be proud of that one. Steve Grabowski even prouder at this point in time.
Oh, Steve loves these strikes. Are you kidding me?
It's his meal ticket right there, the old taking out the 4-5-7.
Yeah, we'll have to get a graphic of Steve Grabowski to put up on one of these shows so people can see the face that we're always referred to.
Exactly. She wants it to stay, but it's kind of irrelevant at this point in time. Caerlina Williams wraps up her first Youth Challenge Series title and the $250 scholarship. She's done for the day, but Morgan isn't. We've got that Visit Sheboygan Challenge match. We always bring it back once a year. The boys division high qualifier and the girls division high qualifier. So it'll be Joe Scumaci and Morgan O'Brien. And you think Morgan's going to work on trying to carry that 10-pin out before the next match, Joey?
My guess is she may make a ball change.
We'll see if she does that. We've wrapped up our girls' final here from Lakeshore Lanes to Sheboygan. Joey and I back from Lakeshore Lanes for our Sheboygan Challenge match in just a couple of minutes. $250 in scholarship money on the line here. Winner take all challenge match. We bring it back once annually for the Youth Challenge Series, and we want to thank our sponsor, the Sheboygan Tourism Board and the Sheboygan Chamber of Commerce. Visit Sheboygan.com. Go there for all your information about all the great things to do here up in Sheboygan. We've got Joe Scumaci starting us off on lane 3.
Modern day power game we're going to see from Joe. Higher than shoulder height backswing. Good power on the release, but he still keeps it composed, which is probably what a lot of kids don't do that should do.
Yep. And you can see how much these lanes have changed. I mean, Joey's only been away for about 4 games, the last 2 games in the boys' show and the first 2 games in the girls' show, and he's gone from a 505T by track to a tropical breeze by storm, so that's a huge difference in cover stock and core for Joe.
Right, and there's times you need to shell down so you can kind of stay in the same part of the lane. And we'll see what Morgan O'Brien's game plan is here. 'Cause we know she doesn't miss the pocket. And it appears as though she may be staying with the same ball, same line, different result. No, that is the same result as her opening shot was last game.
In the girls' finals, yeah, she left that 3-6, so... I don't know if a $197 that she finished with last game would work for this match if she did the same thing all the way through. And I really don't think she wants to leave 5-10 pins out of 10 shots, Joey.
Well, no. I mean, in 10 shots, most good bowlers would prefer 2 maximum, not 5.
And, ooh, almost thought we were going to see a chop there, but she avoided Riley Smith syndrome, I guess you could say. Because Riley had 4 chops during his 3 games on the boys' finals here.
Yeah, and was Riley using a spare ball?
Riley was using a spare ball. So he was using that Milwaukee Brewers Visiball.
So potentially he could have had more chops if he was using a resin ball.
Absolutely. Let's see what Morgan can do here, bouncing back in frame number 2. A little light, and wow, a couple of 7 pins on lane 3 for both bowlers to start the match.
Yeah, and I mean, she knows what she's got to do. She knows Joe is going to not, get tapped all day long. He's going to find a way to get a turkey or a 4-bagger in there. So she'll have to put on her magic shoes and get her done.
So a lot of bantering between these two back and forth between the match, staying loose, but $250 scholarship award, both bowlers have to be thinking about in the back of their mind when they step up on the approach every shot.
Right. Well, the kids look at it as either, some free books for tuition expenses or another new bowling ball. It's easy to spend $250 though.
Absolutely. It doesn't go far in the college world nowadays, and that's why you see a lot of these kids going from tournament to tournament every weekend outside the collegiate or high school bowling seasons, trying to earn that little bit extra money for college. And a great shot there by Joe.
Yeah, and a job well done there. You can see he's playing inside of where Morgan is and inside of where anyone's played on this pair today. He's just about over that 4th arrow, would you say, Phil? Maybe even a little inside?
Yeah, maybe even a little side. I mean, his lane strategy for this match is stand left and throw right. So those lanes have really opened up over the 5 games that have been bowled on so far, plus the practice between the 2 tapings for the Visit Sheboygan.com Open. So lots of room for Joe to just pitch the ball out. Except he needed a little... Wow, that's a surprise.
Well, again, he's using a tropical breeze, which is a very conservative ball from Storm, and he missed left and it held pocket. But that's when you have the right matchup, Phil.
Yeah.
Where you give yourself that little extra margin of error at the target.
Oh, well, you can give yourself 4 or 5 boards at the break point. That's going to keep that arm swing real loose for Joe. Good shot by Morgan, right out of the hand,
Yeah.
dead straight to the pocket.
But again, she needs to be pinpoint accurate, but she can be. And she's having a good time as always. Has she ever frowned? I've never seen a frown on her face.
I can't remember one during all these competitions. You know, and she's always battling. She's always staying loose. And hey, Caerlina Williams back there, and her mom still watching. So watching the action of the challenge match here.
A little bit right, and it came in strong, but it just kind of ran out of gas in the pocket. Yeah.
Joe's giving her a little grief about it back there.
Yeah, she's having a good time, and
yeah, just
wow,
a
little
ball
deflection. You could see it.
Yeah, that ball actually almost got all the way back out to the 10-pin spot, so she might be losing energy real early with that Storm Natural, which is hard to believe with a urethane ball. You could be losing energy early.
Well, you know, it's not always energy is probably not the correct terminology, but it's just not flaring or driving through the pins strong enough. That's why players like resin.
Yeah, you get to just amp up on it and just get the ball down, and as we'll see with Joe here, it'll be nice and easy out of his hand, but a lot of revs off that 5-step approach.
See, resin gives bowlers more length and then more back-end response, so the ball stores energy easier than urethane, and it gives you just that little extra pop on the back.
Morgan gives Joe a little bit of a golf clap there as he walks back on his turkey, so... most of our crowd here emptied out. They're out there enjoying the sights and sounds of Sheboygan after a long weekend inside of Lakeshore Lanes here. And make sure you go to visitsheboygan.com to get all your information about all the great things to do up in Sheboygan when you make your next visit here. That's a little farther right than last time, and you can see the ball just not get all the way back up.
Yeah, and with urethane, that would probably be a washout. But in Joe's case, it is a light 2-pin. An easy 9 spare.
Let's see. Is Joe going to switch to that soccer ball? Yes, he is. He's going to switch to that spare ball and go nice and straight at it. We did see him in his opening match of the boys' finals miss a single pin spare. Let's see if he takes a little more care on it here. Covers it up nicely, and we're going to get into the commercial break for this match. Join us for the visitsheboygan.com challenge match finals in just a couple of minutes. Halfway through our challenge match here for the visitsheboygan.com open last match. I want to thank the support of the Sheboygan Tourism Bureau and visitsheboygan.com for the $250 winner-take-all scholarship in this match. And Morgan right back into the pocket after that commercial break.
Yeah, and that was just as pretty as the frame before on that lane. So she's got a good look on the right lane. She knows she's only 20 pins down. So she needs a nice little young 4-bagger right now, so she can put a little pressure on Joe, because Joe is loose and he's got a good look out there.
Absolutely, and boy, that 10-pin in the 4th frame last time in this lane is huge right now, because Morgan could have the lead if that 10-pin falls.
Her first double in 2 games, and she's getting a kick out of that.
So is Joe back there, and you see his roommate Aaron Adams sitting back there as well. He was 3rd place on the boys show here for the visitsheboygan.com Open, and I tell you what, that program out of Whitewater, some good freshman bowlers this year.
And it will just get better and better as time goes by, Phil. I mean, the younger clientele coming up out of the junior programs, you know, it doesn't matter which state, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, there are some strong upcoming bowlers.
Yeah, I mean, I was on collegebowling.com. It's a great website that Carl Nicolai runs out of Michigan, and he has all kinds of information about bowlers and stuff like that. And you look at some of the averages in these tournaments, even locally in the Wisconsin Collegiate Bowling Conference, and some of these tournament averages were up 10, 12 pins for entire teams over 2 seasons ago. That's just amazing for these club teams like UW Whitewater, and you know, that have to compete against the Wichita States and the Pikevilles and the Weber Internationals that are big powerhouses that offer scholarships and financial aid. Whitewater and these other schools don't have that.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's better coaching now. I mean, equipment plays a part, I'm sure, but the skill levels are getting better all the time. I mean, there's a lot of players that are almost, there we go.
Aaron Adams rocking the Argyle there, apparently.
But they're almost PBA ready coming out of college. And I mean, there's times you got to pay your dues for 5 or 10 years. You know, even Earl Anthony went out on tour, realized I am not near ready for this, went back home, worked on his game for a year or 2, and then came back out on tour and dominated.
Absolutely, and yeah, you watch Joe right there barely get that 7-pin out. And you look at all the bowlers we've had on the shows between the Yonan Memorial, the last couple of shows, now at the visitsheboygan.com Open. Kyle Anderson, A.J. Johnson, even guys like Riley Smith and Brad Staslewicz, and girls like Morgan O'Brien, who's bowled the PBA World Series of Bowling thanks to winning the Team Masters a couple of years ago. These kids have phenomenal experience, as you said, getting into college programs nowadays where they wouldn't have had that 5-6 years ago.
Right. And you can see Morgan's last shot just crept a little high, started hooking up a little early and leaving a 4-pin. And, you know, she loves that ball's predictability, but it's just not the best matchup here where she can string strikes.
Yeah, it's getting her, letting her get to the pocket, but when you have a guy that has so much more room than you at that particular point in time, and he's able to kick a couple extra 10s out that you can't, it's tough to keep up with him.
And Parker Bowen said it best. If you're not carrying with one ball, put it in the bag, grab a different ball, and don't carry with that one.
Ooh, and that was about out the 4th board, and with that urethane ball, it definitely is not going to get back to the pocket.
No.
And that's going to, without a conversion here, that's going to put Morgan down by about 28 to 30 pins, depending on her count.
But it still won't upset her, Phil. I mean, she could probably have a game of opens. I'm talking 10 straight opens, and she'd still be smiling at the end of the match.
And she'd be right back out there the next game doing whatever she could to shoot 300 that game. So, yeah, that's going to put her down by 26 pins with Joe working on a strike in the 8th frame. And I'll tell you what, would not want to be Morgan sitting on the bench right now knowing what Joe's done his last 2 shots out of the lanes. Little drift to the left there for Joe, so he gets him enough room out to the right. And he's got some room on the lane because that looked about 3 boards to the left from the last time he was up. And even Morgan's kind of laughing at it, too, kicking the 9 out late. She knows Joe got a little lucky on that shot.
And Joe is proving you don't need an expensive ball to strike. You need the correct ball to strike. Again, you know, $110 ball, $120 ball, that almost is a solid 9-pin. It's again a combination of a good bowler playing the lanes properly, and you can get the job done. And then you leave a flat 10, but that can be done with any ball.
Yeah, exactly. So you see Joe doing his Morgan imitation back there, going, "I threw it good, come on." So and they're getting a laugh out of it a little bit, but Joe's got to make this. He's up by 35 pins, but you know, in the 9th frame, if you go open, you can let Morgan right back in this match. So this spare is real crucial.
But see, that's Joe's only 10-pin as well. You know, it took him 9 frames to leave one, so it's easy to stay loose. No trouble with the conversion with his soccer ball spare ball.
Covers that up nicely with a 35-pin deficit. Morgan steps up with a maximum score of 212. So, yeah, she's going to have to strike out to put any pressure on Joe whatsoever. Looks pretty good out of her hand. Wow, that one crept a little high, and she may have crossed where the boys opened up the lane before.
Yeah, that's back-to-back shots, crept up a little high, but she won't have to worry about it for much longer, since she will be finishing on the left lane in the 10th.
Yeah, this one's pretty much just going to hand that $250 scholarship right over to Joe. Think his roommate Aaron back there has any plans for the scholarship money for Joe?
I think he may.
I mean, it is books and other stuff. Maybe they'll be sharing a textbook for a class next year. You never know. So,
you know, if they thought about having a tournament fill run where only non-reactive balls could be used, such as urethanes, plastic, and rubber, you know, you'd almost have to put a small wager on Morgan because you know she's going to play in the track, down and in, not give up the pocket, carry an occasional strike.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see she's putting her hands up right there. And sure, now they all fall. But yeah, it'd be interesting because direct players are going to have a better advantage with plastic equipment, especially with the old-fashioned weight blocks.
Right, and most competitive bowlers will have a non-reactive ball, at least at their disposal.
I'll have to get a list from you, Joey, of bowling balls that are out there that still have the old-fashioned pancake weight blocks, and we could have the bowlers just use those particular bowling balls. That could make it for a pretty interesting tournament.
Morgan's ball would be ineligible since hers has a larger core in the center.
That Storm Natural, yeah, we'd want to go. If we're gonna go old school, we may as well go really old school. We could have almost a house. You see all those beautiful looking house balls. Yeah, those beautiful looking house balls that are back on the rack there. I mean, those are the old-fashioned pancake weight blocks, and have a house ball tournament. I guess.
And I think we'd see more two-handers that day or thumbless players popping up because that's the only way you can get those balls to hook and hit.
Yeah, we put them up in the lanes up at Sherwood High School. Really, we can go really old school then. Over the top ball return or Holler House. Get us down to Holler House. So Joe gonna finish it out. Sure, he's gonna make himself look as good as he can going off the sheet, kind of rub it into Morgan a little bit.
Well,
see a little smile.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Joe wishes Morgan would have scored higher, but
Yeah.
it's hard to control your scoring. You know, to the point. He's got a good look. He doesn't want to throw a 3 count, Phil.
No, and I think he sees the reaction he has with this ball now. He's kind of probably going and thinking back a little bit to himself, going, "Boy, that opening boys match. If I would have had this out instead of my 505 tee, maybe I could have scored a little bit better." So, and still everybody. Now, if somebody took $250 out of my pocket like Joe did to Morgan there, I don't know if I'd be laughing as much as Morgan is right now, but you got to love the spirit.
Well, you know, I mean, Morgan, she's 19 years of age, goes to Clark University. She's a young college girl, living the dream, having fun.
And apparently Morgan's wristband has got a little bit of a problem there. See her waving around back there, and people are kind of clearing out. So a little high five, congratulations at the end for him. And oh, I think Joe's been poisoned. Well, Joe and I we'll get back to here from Lakeshore Lanes, and we'll wrap up this show in just a couple of minutes as Joe tries to recover at the back of the approach. I have a lot of viewers that ask me, why do you have so many of your tournaments at Castle Lanes? Well, Castle Lanes is a center that has an exceptional atmosphere. The charm of being in a Northwoods cabin while you bowl, an attentive staff on the lanes and in the lounge, all the big screen TVs and a free Wi-Fi hotspot, and being named in Bowler's Journal as one of the 95 places to bowl before you die, you have to bowl at Castle Lanes. That's why we love Castle Lanes, and you will too. Barbieres, a Milwaukee institution since 1963. Great Italian food for dine-in or carry-out, and great times for your family and friends. Barbieres, in the heart of South Milwaukee, and near Miller Park on Blue Mound Road. Well, Joey, great bowling on the show today. Morgan O'Brien, 2 chances to get a lot of scholarship money in her pocket today, and surprisingly came up 0 for 2 in the effort.
Right, but she's still smiling, Phil. I mean, she's still having a good time. Interesting ball choice. I mean, she used a urethane ball, and the one she used is one of my favorites as well, but just couldn't get the 10 out consistently.
And it cost her the $250 scholarship against Caerlina Williams in the girls' final, and then cost her another $250 scholarship against Joe Scumaci in the VisitBoyden.com challenge match as well.
Yeah, but she's still the happiest bowler we know, and something everyone should strive for.
I think so, and I think we'll see more of all the bowlers we saw on the show today on TV later in the year. Want to once again thank our friends from Time Warner Cable Sports 32 for having us on the air. And for my friend Joey Serrar, I'm Phil Brylow, and parents, take the kids bowling. They'll have fun for life. We'll see you again on our next show.